Behind the Shades.
So why don't we get started right from the beginning? But before we do so, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are and where my audience can find you.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Lavina Quilliam, and I'm a life coach and a teacher, and I'm from Sydney, Australia. And I am very active on Facebook out of all the social medias. So you can just Google on Facebook, Lavina Quilliam, or join my free Facebook group, which is called Logical Minds, Sacred Body and Heart-Centered Beings, where we can I love having, two-way communication and just speaking to all the people and sharing our experiences there.
Perfect. So take us through the genesis and how did you get started in all of this, helping others find their self-love, their self-care, and things like that?
It came through my own health crisis and, Graves' disease and all the chronic fatigue, burnt out that I have experienced. I'm still going through navigating my health journey for myself. It's been decades. And alongside going through it and finding things that helped me, I discovered and people have asked for my help through my experiences to help them. So it was like a natural evolution. I always knew that I'm a helper, I'm a teacher, I'm a mentor, a guide, and that it was an interesting twist to become a life coach through people asking me. So it was just something that I landed in, not something that I was actively seeking for or would actually think that I would become as well.
I know for
and
me
I'm also
when
an author.
Oh, perfect. I know for me when I started helping others, I was doing it in a different way because I thought that this was the way that I should be doing it. But similar to yourself, when I started helping people in a different way, I kind of fell into it because it was more of like an evolution where it's like, hey, I started off this way, but this way makes more sense. So when you're helping your clients, what's the type of conversation that you're having with them?
Conversation is basically how to, even just the simple things, how to connect to their body, how to listen to their intuition, how to feel good within themselves, fulfillment, what it is actually that they need and want, and actually to seek to give it to themselves or ask other people to step up and give them that support. So it's very holistic. It's very all the life concerns that people have, whether it's, they want to have partnerships, they want to, do their own business, things like this. It quite varies. And it also health as well related and food related as well is a big topic. And of course, self-love and how to do that and what does it mean and why should we do, why should we care? And probably the main thing is that people think that they always have to stay in that same stale lack vibration and they don't feel or see or taste another side to that there is actually another magical realm that they can tap into and not just a set where they are right now, but to actually go forward to find that fulfillment within themselves and in their own body and the power that has always been existed in their body.
I know for you suffer from Graves' disease, and we're going to touch on that. When you were going through what you were going through, was there someone there to provide the same type of assistance that you're looking to provide for your clients as well?
Oh, absolutely. That's how I still have mentors. I have the best of the best. I've always decided that at the start of my journey that I would only choose the best. So I've been on this journey for over a decade and I still have. I've always had the decade and I will continue for the rest of my life because I feel that there's always an evolution and there's always, breaking through our comfort zones and seeing different perspectives because it's just shifting perspectives. I think at the end of the day is that we all have different perspectives and it's good to bounce back on other people's perspectives as well. So to forever growing. So absolutely, that was the thing that has, ultimately helped me. And that's why I'm now here to give back.
What were some of the challenges that you faced when you were going through Graves' disease or still going through it?
So most of it was like the feeling of course, brain fog, which now a lot of people have felt it pre-COVID. I'm like, I've always felt it for a decade. So I'm glad that you can now finally understand me a little bit. Also, just really like, for me, it was like very much zombie-like and was very unusual for me because I normally have a lot of energy, especially when I was a little kid. And then all of a sudden the energy went and it felt, people just said you have depression and it was very hard to get out of bed. But helping people was the springboard. If I didn't have that, I didn't have that passion, I could have easily been bedridden for, 7 years easily, because the energy wasn't there. But it was like I had to find that energy deep within my body to connect to that energy that is, and then bring forward in order just to get through the day. Because that's what I used to tell myself. I just need to get through today. What can I look forward to? So I like having a cookie, or, mindfully eating a chocolate. Like, that was my factor. Like, I just needed to get through today, and that was my intention to the best of my ability. And then I used to go home and just sleep for like 16 hours a day.
For those who don't know, what are some of the symptoms of Graves' disease, and what exactly is Graves' disease?
So I don't know it in too much detail, because I don't like to focus on it as much, because I don't want that to become a victim story for me. So what I do know of, because I did research it, because I'm a hypochondriac as well, and things, but from my perspective, it is an autoimmune. So it's like the opposite. So it's hyperthyroid. So everything's going a little bit too fast, even though there's no energy. It feels that you're very heightened. It's very anxiety, like panic attacks, or like, so quite often the body will feel like overwhelmed and experience panic attacks, and a little bit of paranoia that you just, feel like you're going to die, but you're not. And it's just the constant on the edge, fight or flight feeling as well. And also just like really drained. And it could be considered as poor mood in terms of, depression. So depression and anxiety. So very similar to that, but it's the body that's going through the journey. And we just have to, that's where the self-love comes from, is like, we have to love our body, because our body feels this way, and we can't deny it. We can't shame it. We have to understand our body. And I feel like this journey for me, and the lesson that brought me in my life, was that at the end of the day, we're here to look after our body, and we're here to guide our body. And our mind has its own story, but we're here to look after it and really take care and nourish our bodies, because if we don't, then it will come and manifest into different ways.
I know for me, there was a time where I was so rigid on how I wanted to take care of my body. It was to the point where I began to like obsess about it a little bit. And I just remember looking at it and saying that I want my body to look a specific way. I want to make sure that my body's healthy in a specific way. And it was all that I can think about. But what I loved about that journey was I began to understand how to love my body in different ways. Is that something that you learned as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that how you said that about, being rigid about being healthy, because that was my part of my journey. So I was thinking, because I probably manifested it because I was like on the McDonald's diet, or heavily junk food. But then I turned to that, ultra pure, healthy lifestyle, and it was very rigid, and therefore didn't see effects as well. So yeah, now I'm definitely on the journey of learning every day. It's different, and to finding out what we need each day as well. It's different, and it's okay. There's no judgment there. It's, we just need to keep on listening to our body.
What's something that comes up, or what's one of the commonalities that comes up when you are helping your clients focus on self-love, focus on self-care, but they're still working themselves up to get to that point where they truly feel the love that they have for themselves?
I like to see it as, and it's one thing when we think about, social media and how people paint that it should just come, butterflies, love hearts, roses, it should come instantly. And it's just this fluffy thing. But in all honesty, through my experiences, self-love and, self-care is a very difficult journey. And it's not for the faint of heart. It does put a lot of, and I see it as like a bank account. So if you're full of debt and you're in the red, and you didn't take care of your body the same way you didn't take care of your money situation, you can't expect you to feel great overnight, or expect to feel great very shortly, because you have to sort of give back energy towards your body to get out of that red in order to feel the effects. So you might feel like at the start when I was doing it, it was like I felt horrible for so long before I could feel any shimmer of light or any feel good energy. And it was like, okay, I could stop, this was not working. So I think a lot of people and my clients will feel like it's not working because I've been doing this for a while, I should feel this certain way. Whereas it's like, you have to remember you're in the red. The more that you take care of it, and it's like the years and years and years, the more nourishment that you give to your body, the more excitement and pleasure. Of course, you're going to feel it, but it's still, you're body's still in deficit. So it's going to take a while to rebalance all the things that we have, experienced and done towards our body.
It's like when on the health side, like the fitness side, where they were eating, let's say, poorly for years, and they want to overcome that in 30-day get fit diet, right? Or they may say that, well, you know what, Taryn, I'm going to try this new 90-day booty blast routine, and I'm going to go from 300 pounds to 120 in 90 days, which is a stretch, because then you're putting yourself through a difficult routine, right? Because you're trying to condense everything into one. Is this a difficult journey for your clients, knowing that, hey, they're still in the red, they're still in the deficit? It's not going to happen today. It may not happen tomorrow, but it will happen.
Yeah, definitely. And I always tell them from my experience, because I could tell you, I felt, and I tell them, and I obviously don't wish it for them. We're going to definitely short track it. But for me specifically, and my family, friends could vouch for it, even myself, like it took me 7 years to even feel any shimmer of good. It was like 7 years of just hardcore, just, I don't know what I was doing, numb or whatever it might be, and just pain. And it was like, going through and seeing it, okay, it has to be long-term. This has to be a legacy. This is a long-term, short-term pain, long-term gain. And that has always been my motto and philosophy. And I have to call bluff on life, because life is like, are you willing to go through this challenge? Are you willing to show that you're strong enough to get through this? And of course you can, as well. And it's just having that faith and, really relying on just, connecting with yourself and just believing and knowing that it's going to happen. You don't know when, and it's definitely completely different for every single person. Like I have clients that get it right away. Their body understands and they get it and they feel good. So it definitely varies. I think we need to sit in our own lane and perspective and know when it's the right time for us, it will show up and happen.
So take me through like a day of your clients. Like when you first meet, let's say you first meet me as your client. What does day one look like in comparison to day 2, day 7, and so on? Tell us about day 1 for your clients.
So I love to have deep connection and quality time. So the first time, it's just like, tell me everything about yourself. I want to know childhood. I want to know everything that you've been up to, everything that you've experienced, anything and everything that. Then the next day, what is it that you want? What is it that you desire in your life? What is it that you want to be? And really then having an action plan and being thinking, okay, this is where you are right now. Let's tangibly get to, that's where the logical side comes in as well. What plan, 30-day plan can we create together to see what we can shift and move in 30 days? And again, rinse and repeat for the next month as well.
And then once you introduce them, you get to know them. Is that where you say, okay, this is what I'm used to doing, but I want to make it unique to Taryn. I want to make it unique to Lavina. Do you tailor it that way? Well, because I don't want to accuse you of being a cookie cutter, but if it's like, hey, this is what you need right now, let me give you what you need, and lots of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very personalized. So it definitely depends on what the client needs, and and some clients don't know what they need. So we need to pan that out and expand that and unpack what is it that they need, because it's not very, I think as, female, especially that's my clients, are not used to, they're fulfilling other people's needs. And when you ask them what they need at the moment, they don't know. And they don't know that they are allowed to ask for it or lean into further support and ask more guidance as well. And I feel like that's a big thing that we need to go through together as a community, to know that I'm here to support you. I'm here to guide you. Please use me as that, not just be like, you don't, what I mean? You're just there, but not really as present or deep, or go as deep as you want it to be. Because a lot of people shy away from the deep questions because they feel like that's too much, or they want to look in a certain light, but it's like, let's go deep. So we go very, very deep as far as the client is comfortable to do so.
That reminds me of a time where I was trying to figure out life, and I was trying to understand where I'm going to fit in. And this was in my 20s. And I just had to ask myself, hey, what is it that you want out of life? Because to your point, right? You had to say that, I don't know. Mm-hmm. And then you have to go to someone and say, hey, I'm trying to figure this thing out. Someone who's maybe more experienced, someone who's trained to do these things. And then just as you are doing, Lavinia, I'm figuring out that a part of my journey is making sure that I can give back to other people. And that's why I coach and mentor people who maybe didn't have a voice when they're younger, right? And because I want to make sure that they're taking care of themselves, like how you mentioned, there's the physical aspect, there's the mental, there's the emotional, there's the spiritual, there's all this other forms of it. And one thing I like what you said is that you want to find out what that person needs because sometimes they don't even know themselves. When you reach that self-discovery with them, that aha, where they're like, Lavinia, I know exactly what I want. How does that feel for you to be a part of that self-discovery journey with them?
It's everything. That's why we do what we do, right? That feeling is irreplaceable. Like you just can't, it's just unconditional love. It's bliss. It's fulfillment. It's just, that's what we're here. That's what we're here for them. It's just great that when they can remember that for themselves, it's everything.
And how much of yourself do you see in the clients that you work with?
All. So they show me all the parts that I have been, all the parts that I still am, all the parts that I've been in the past. Like, it's like, wow, like we've been on very similar journeys. So I definitely feel like it's not a coincidence. It's always divine, that we can help each other and that connection goes so deeply.
Do you feel that this connection that you're building with your clients was something that was determined for you to come in contact with these people? Because before you met them, you probably don't know who they are, but here you are meeting them, building that connection and understanding. So do you feel that there's a significance in the type of people you meet and that you're placed in their life for a reason and then they're placed in your life for a reason?
100%. I really, really do believe that. And we're here to, help each other evolve and grow and to know that we are all connected. We all are one. We go through similar experiences, but people don't talk about it. And I feel that people assume because no one's talking about it, that no one's going through this experience and people are just looking at the highlight reel of social media, that people only see the great. And that's good that we, highlight and amplify what is going well in our life. But what about the shadow parts that no one talks about, no one speaks about? So it's always relieving to know that, wow, we're going through this together. And the more that we can have conversations about it, people won't feel alone and they'll feel like, wow, you've gone through it, I can do it too.
You mentioned social media, and I always found social media to be an interesting application on people's life, if I can use that word in this situation. What type of impact do you see social media having on the journey of others, either positive or negative?
Positive in terms of people can build that, deep quality communication. I feel like that is what social media is all about. We're so lucky that, but in one way we think of it, it's very quick, it's very superficial. We don't really see it as a mode or that deep connection as we would in in-person communication. But if we can see it as a tool for that deep communication, it's great. But for my clients, that I know that they don't tell me, but I can always feel energetically that they spend a lot of time comparing themselves to other people. Again, I tell them it's a highlight reel and it's great, but it's like you don't know what people are going through behind the scenes. And I feel like a lot of people do invest a lot of time scrolling on and I tell them, be conscious. Like, social media is great. Like, I go on there only 15 minutes each day and I'm mindfully, intentionally looking at what I need to see, how I can help people, how I can answer their questions and things like that. But I can see people and I can feel that they're just scrolling for hours, and that intentional time could be used on that self-care, self-love, or on their business or what is their passion. Like, they do waste a lot of time, and I see it just in the community. And I always look at people when I'm, walking through the roads, they're on their phones, right? They're scrolling through, and I just look at them like, can we look at each other in the eye and just have that smile, have that human connection? They're just so shocked when I do that, because even some people ask me when I'm on the train, I'm the one person that's not on the phone. I'm on my heart. I'm connecting to my heart, and people think I have a heart attack because I'm really connecting to myself. But I always do it, even though I'm the odd one out. I've been doing it for like a decade and no one has joined me yet in Sydney, but it's like connect to our heart, not to our phone.
There's a time where I want to track how much hours I was spending, right? I just want to find out, hey, Train, how much time are you actually on social media? And I tracked it, and I tracked it for about a month. I found out on average each day I was spending about 6 hours a day. That's a part-time job. And I sat back and I was like, there's no way I'm spending 6 hours, because you don't even realize it, right? It's like, what am I doing? And then I started to like think logically, right? And then I was like, what did I gain? Right? What did I learn? Did I even get like a wife out of this these 6 hours a day? I could have went on a few dates and figured life out, right? And then it was just so odd that I was spending all this time and I was thinking, what is going on? So what I did is I put an alert on and I said, Terrain, you're going to go from 6 hours to 4 hours. And when I was scrolling, alert came up. And I was like, wait. I need to scroll a little bit more. And then I did the 4 hours. And then I got down to 3. And then I got down to 2. And then I did an hour and a half. I was like, okay, I can do this an hour and a half, 2 hours, right? And then when I started to do this, speaking to people like you, when I started to coach people, I found out that there's a lot more time in your day when you measure out your day. How important is it for you to communicate that to your clients that, hey, measure out your day and let's be as productive as possible when it comes to self-care and self-love?
Absolutely. And I like to use the analogy of school because a lot of my clients, don't like school. And what I feel that we learned from school is that structure and that routine. And that, yes, we had a timetable, but why can't we have a timetable for ourselves where we have to be intentional because our life here is precious? And what are we going to do every single minute of the day, and have a rough plan as to how can we incorporate self-care and self-love every single day, whether that means, waking up early, whether that means going to bed a bit later, whatever it might be, but be intentional about absolutely every little thing in life. And as you said, which was amazing, that you do have more time than you can imagine, right? We really, really do have so much time if we were intentional about it and not just waste it on, things that are irrelevant and that won't fill up our cup and won't add to our fulfillment of our life as well.
I went from working one job and scrolling on social media for 1/4 out of my day to working 3 jobs and still getting a little bit more sleep now. Because as you mentioned, I gave myself a timetable. A Google Calendar is I slotted and I say, okay, from 6 to 7 p.m., you're going to do this. From 7 to 8, you're going to do this. From 8 to 9, you're going to take a breather. Breathe in, breathe out, right? You got to understand what is going on. And one of my friends, he made this joke, and I'm going to steal this line from him. He said, Terrain, those who can't manage a clock cannot manage their life. And at that time, I took a little bit of offense because I was like, I'm scrolling on social media for 6 hours. I can't manage my life, right? But he wasn't talking about me. He was talking about everyone else. And I want to pass that on to everyone else. For those listening, understand that, yes, there's 24 hours in the day. But once you're aware of how much time you're giving certain things, you begin to focus on the things that are more important. And for you, you went through what you went through. You're giving back and you're helping your clients. How important is it for you to focus on the things that matter most and not so much on the things that they're not really that important?
And that was a tough journey because I would always harp on or worry about all the small things. I would give it all my time and attention. I feel like just this year alone, I'd let it go. My body's let it go, all the small things. And now I can feel that this statement that I, was mentored by Matt Kahn, who was an amazing spiritual leader. He told me 2 years ago, or it was last year, goes, you will soon realize how simple your life could be. And I was at that time, how simple? I can't, because I'm so in my head. I'm worried about all these little things. And then I did the work that he told me to do. And now I'm like, wow, life is so easy and life is so simple when you're not focusing on the small things, and where you can just be free and you can feel like, wow, like life is so amazing. We can have so many amazing experiences. We have so much time to connect to ourselves, to love ourselves. Like, it's great when you're not always in your beloved mind.
As we close today, what advice do you want to give to the next generation of men and women who are trying to understand and appreciate the value of self-care and self-love, but maybe they need some guidance? What would you say to them?
I would tell them, well, why it matters and why it's important. I always like to, contribute to that. Like, why should I care, basically? Because I always remember, like, the kids always telling me this for every lesson. And why we should care is, this is how I measured things. do I feel whole and fulfilled within my being, within myself? And am I living my life in that way? No? Okay, so that means there's some self-love, there's self-care that we need to give our body each and every day. And it's different for every single person. And it's like, what's one thing you could do to connect to yourself? So for me, even just you're hugging yourself, like that is showing your body that you are connected, that you're willing to build this relationship and friendship that takes time. So if we're looking at any relationship, a decade, 5 years at least, before we feel a little bit more comfortable, a bit more secure, just, hugging yourself every single day, rocking yourself, or, playing a sport that you like, or whatever it might be, reading a book, knowing what is it that you like, and be like a child in terms of they do many little activities a day. They bake, they play in the garden, they run around, they play Lego, they jump and scream. Like, they keep themselves busy, they experiment, they play. Why is it as adults we lose in touch of that? Let's come back to playing. Let's come back to being creative. Let's come back to being like child, because children are very, lit up. They're very fulfilled. They know they're whole. Like, they're not there to tease anyone because they know their wholeness. And it has to come to a point where we are whole right now, and self-love and self-care is that remembrance of the wholeness that we've always been and always will be.